What's up, YouTube? I'm posting my month update on my log splitter. I already had to do some improvements because it was almost impossible to use. So I'm going to go through some of the modifications that I had to do. One of them is the tongue was extended because the tongue that comes with it is very short. It's very hard to unhook from your truck to do anything, move it around. So that whole tongue extension was extended. I also added a wheel, make it easier. Definitely need that. Another problem I ran into is this rack here. Now, you could remove it before, but what was happening is every time, you had a little bit of weight on it, the pins would bend. So this is actually stationary. It is welded on, so the pins don't bend anymore. I had a problem with the four-way. I had to have it all rewelded because one of the fins broke off. So that was completely rewelded because the welds from the factories are shit. Okay. Another issue I had right here. I had these extensions added on the rack because what was happening, wood was falling through. This whole rack stops right here from the factory. This was added on. That's a definite must because it's going to piss you off. Otherwise, that's about it. It's running good. Haven't had any problems with the motor. I did replace the plug on the motor because the Chinese one, I went with a NGK. Let me see here. I'm sorry, it's a Denso Iridium. Let me see if I could see the number. Oh, hell, I can't see the number. But anyway, if you go on Google and you take the plug that comes in the motor, if you go on Google and cross-reference it, you're going to get a few crosses. I think I went from the Chinese plug to a NGK, and then I took that NGK number and went to a Denso, but that's a Denso Iridium plug. But the motor's good. No issues with the motor. This hose here, the return hose, when the temperature of the hydraulic fluid heats up, this is very jello-like. This is the next thing I'm going to replace. It's a very cheap hose. As you can see right now how flexible it is. When it gets hot, it's just ridiculous. You could probably, if I was to pull on it when it was hot, I could probably rip it off there. That's the next thing I got to replace. Let me see. I did have some issues with the oil filter. Keeps coming loose. I keep tightening it. I'm having issues there. And also, this was welded. That's a complete weld on both sides because I just didn't trust the bolts. There's 4 bolts that hold this main rail to the tank. Did not trust it, so I had them weld that on. And that's about it. Valves are okay. They're not perfect, but this is a Chinese model. And tires are good. Haven't had any issues. The cylinder, I did have some issues. The paint that they used on the cylinder is a very cheap paint. When a cylinder heats up, you could take your finger and almost rub the paint off. It gets really hot. I know that's not a paint that does well with heat that they used on there. The hoses I had no issues with. This actual arm that picks up the logs, I had no issues with. That's about it. I'm pretty sure as the wood splitting season gets closer and closer, there's going to be other modifications that I have to do to it. But that's the modifications for now, because it's just impossible to use. I use it commercial wise, and it just wasn't working out. But I'll post a video when it gets closer to my busy season, because I'm sure something's going to break. And I'll post a video what kind of modifications I made on it. Thanks for watching.